Yizixib Hall Tazmavum Riorah Il Gam Mezkaz Ozirah Mezakazhu. Any impressions about that before we?
I'm hearing horizon, horizons in the east.
And that will be the seasonal chant related to, that Wednesday night, which
Mhm.
culminates in the equinox, 2:01 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Thursday, the 20th of March, 2025. And the satanic front chant, the Riorah Zelmski Gvops Iz Ozirah Has Lazu Ziu Azogsi Ahgu Gazgab Merker. Any impressions with that?
I'm hearing that with strong winds carry secret voices.
Now, speaking of secret voices, one of the things that people don't get, because sometimes they see stuff edited or they see movies, some of the stuff, it's not going to show up. The experience of the people doing the rituals
Right.
and their inner what's going on, that doesn't technically show up. As much as like
Right.
I try to vocalize in between the sayings, the verses, my responses, and between the other
Mhm.
aspects. Um,
Yeah.
but so some verses that relate to the themes in the poem, which you can read off if we finish uh, the verses. 177. Piety does not lie in turning your face to the east or the west. Piety lies in believing in the causal, the last day, the they people would call them devis, um, the scriptures, the prophets, and dispersing your wealth out of a causal love among your kin and the orphans and the wayfarers, the mendicants, freeing the slaves, observing your devotional obligations, um, which is probably, yeah, the word for making ritual, well, doing rituals basically, and paying a charity and fulfilling a pledge you have given and being patient in hardship, adversity, and times of peril. These are for people who affirm the truth. They are for those who follow the straight path. And so, but
Um,
notice how it's not east or west. A lot of people get bent up about, oh, this is that such and such is an Eastern religion or Western religion. We're kind of beyond that.
mm, right. Right.
214. Do you think that you'll find your way to paradise even though you have not known what the others before you have gone through? They had endured affliction and loss and were shaken and tossed about. So even the apostle had to cry out with his followers, when will the causal help arrive? Remember, the causal help is ever at hand. And so, yeah, we have to endure stuff to prove ourselves, but
Mhm.
there's an answer there somewhere. And
The
I,
thing
I,
about enduring, that's one of the tough parts, the enduring and um, going forward, um, having the willpower. It's tough. It sounds like it would be so easy, like, but no, no. Um,
three,
one can definitely put themselves in their own place.
303. Hold on firmly together to the causal rope and don't be divided among yourself. And remember the favors that a causal bestowed on you when you were one another's foe, and reconciled your hearts, and turned your brethren through its grace. You had stood on the edge of the pit of fire, and it saved you, thus revealing to you the clear signs that you may find the right way perchance. So definitely we know about uh we're not oblivious to the pit and all that. But one of the things that we see particularly, like now, I am personally not part of some of these conflicts that people see. Um, you know what I mean, like between the orders and individuals,
Mm,
and
right.
people are so eager to join into that. It's like, okay, am I going to be this group or that group? And I know
Mm,
some of it relates to Satanic Front, and that's uh, who
mm,
were using the symbol and directing the energy with that current. Um,
mm.
but it's just
Yeah.
in
Oh,
general, a
yeah.
lot of it would be just indifference, but it's like I don't know the point of the fight.
Right. Yeah, I don't.
562. You will see among them who rush into sin and wickedness and devour unlawful gain how evil is the things they do. 63. Why don't their rabbis and their priests prohibit them from taking of the sinful things and from devouring the unlawful gain, evil their acts they commit? And before going on to the next verse, two verses in that chapter, um, say a lot of people they claim certain. One of the definitions of a fanatic is they just claim the title. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm
Mm,
Christian, don't worry," um, and you never know what they're going to do.
mm,
You may know I go every couple years. Some of it's clearance, some of it's not, but every year or whatever, I end up going or twice a year or something. I stop at a couple Christian stores. I mean, very specific Christian stores. I mean, every other store is owned by a Christian, right? Um,
right.
but see, they'll sell these things that say like you're preemptively forgiven, and it's like, see, that's the thing. You're leading to all the things that your religion actually tells you against, but then again, you're not, you know. Um, so why aren't the people in charge of these religions telling them? Because they just want people to feel happy enough at church to give them money, or at the synagogue to give them money.
Labels. I don't like
But
labels and wearing
but
a
they
label.
they make it about the labels.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Um,
one of the things too. They not only make it about the labels, they um, hold those
I
labels so
had
much against
noted,
people,
right. And about labels,
and it
it's
hurts
starting
their
to,
membership. You know that
yeah.
it hurts their membership. Is like the Methodist used to be the biggest church in America. Now the LDS are, and part of the reason why that is that people left the Methodists when the masses of the United Methodist decided that they're going to support all these agendas and that people
Mhm,
that are against Christianity and
mm,
people like it was. I think they were generally okay. The Bible doesn't let women talk in church
mm.
in a
I've
public
heard of that.
gathering in Greek, but it doesn't let them talk in church.
Mm,
So people were generally
mm,
okay with women pastors and that sort or whatever they call them. But
mm,
the rest of it, they weren't. So people left the churches. And if the churches are just okay with whatever crime or sin you're committing, and
mm,
it's one thing
mm,
maybe if the person can clean themselves up for church, let them in. But the whole thing where they just are basically placating them, whatever they want to do, as long as they're a member of the church,
mm.
it just took away their
Yeah.
spirit. It destroyed the group, and every other church is like that. They've cost
Mm,
themselves the members because they've done that.
yeah.
And then you have these people. It's like, why when I say if the Bible
She's
says
like,
to kill me, and I go up in church and say and tell everybody there was no reason why the church needed to know what you do in the gay bathhouses, but you felt like you need to stand up in church and tell everybody, and they didn't support you in that. When
well,
they're telling you wait till don't have sex outside of marriage, and
it,
you do this in church, and you didn't hear
it,
supportive words all over the place. It's like, come on, dude, this was not the place for it.
right,
Now if he was trying to cause a problem and feeding off the energy of that, now
right,
one of the
right.
things like one of the things that keep on getting pointed out about Satanic Front is like they're honest that whatever evil or whatever the people have done, it's like there are people who do that stuff. So
mm,
the idea is so it's sort of the opposite of what the Church of Satan has done. They don't
mm,
mind just pretend it's like only those who follow our guidelines are true Satanists, the other ones aren't. And it's like that's not how it works.
mm.
But again, the point too is people aren't, oh, and it's in a similar verse too here, 79. They did not restrain one another from the wicked things they used to do, and vile were the things they were doing. 80, and you see among them many allying themselves with the misbelieving. Vile it was what they sent ahead from them, and so that a causal indignation cometh upon them, and the torment they will suffer in eternity. And one of the things that we find is that people's personal things, it's like, well, it's because they've let that be their personal thing.
Mhm.
If somebody does something, whether it's
Right.
criminal or perverse or whatever, um,
Mhm.
it's like, well, it's their own deal. If
Mhm.
they're not calling everybody else to do it, like that's why
Right.
that's why I do have a book that I have not done programs on, and I may do some rituals with it or related to it. But Lilland's Society makes it sound like you're required to be a sadomasochistic sodomite who tries to get people to kill themselves.
Mhm.
It sounds like that's required to be part of the group. So if you're not
Mhm.
to that, and really, do you need a separate religion to be into this, that, or the other? You know, um,
I've made some notes, kind of like a little mini summary. Uh, I say drop the agendas, rid the labels, um, be one's own temple, participating in like the time wasting type activities, that doesn't help anybody or anyone. Stripped down to a more like a raw form. Um, Expose, the truth to yourself and, work with that. It's I'm finding it's very important to be real with, oneself. You got to admit that uh, a per a person needs to admit within themselves, like, well, for me, I'm speaking for me.
yeah, you need to admit what you are. You don't,
Um,
but you don't need to. You
yeah,
don't need to tell some priest all that sort of stuff where they can.
yeah. You
It's like
just admit it.
Scientology makes lists. So whatever you tell
Mhm.
them in your private counseling sessions, no, no, they will release that if you ever question the group
Absolutely.
publicly and
Uh,
or if you ever
yeah,
try to leave,
I think
they'll say, listen, listen, we still need your
yeah,
support, or your.
yeah. I don't think it should be like recorded like that. But
The
like
Catholics do too. The Catholics have for a long time, but they have
yeah.
a they
You
keep
gotta ask
they keep a
the
record,
why.
and if it's been long enough that they expect everybody involved to be dead, then they release. Then it can be released. But they have
Yeah,
a strict rule that there can be nobody. Now there's a general age rule, but I think if somebody lived longer than that, then they would include that. But the Catholics, the longest living people in the world haven't been Catholic. So so they basically say, what, 180 years or whatever, and then it gets.
you
But
gotta wonder why.
the point is the honesty with oneself.
Yeah, yeah, and that's hard. Well,
And
it's not.
642, indeed we have sent to many people before you and inflicted upon them the hardships and afflictions so that they might submit. Now, the submission, any submission shouldn't be to just. It's not to the humans. It's to what you really should be. Um, it's not to the conservative interpretations. It's not to the liberal takeaways. It's not. Um, and the things keeps on being sent. So in a way, you can look at some of this stuff and say, wait, wait, wait. What experience am I supposed to have with this?
Mhm,
How am I supposed to translate this over?
mhm,
794. There's not a region to which we have sent uh, an exemplar, and it didn't profit, and it didn't inflict upon its people adversity and hardship so that they may submit. So very similar to that. But the thing with that is that again, something happens, and then you're called to prove it.
mhm.
Um, like well, I guess the satanic front thing is you stay physically fit if you can stay physically fit. You want to be able to do exercise or run or or if you don't have, aren't they hundreds of dollars or what or whatever, even having a regular punching bag or something nowadays? I remember my grandfather had a punching. He was an athletics coach, and
Mhm.
I put the last work into the punching bag, and so I would go down every afternoon. I would go work on the punching bag, and the punching bag eventually broke, and that was it for it. But like another idea you could have now, it will cost several dollars. You buy a cheap sock, you fill it with rice, and you hang it with a rope from the ceiling or whatever, and you work on that. And you do want to be the point where
I
you
literally, yeah, I literally just made a 5 pound weight. I took like a plastic container about the size of the bag of 5 pound sugar and like put the 5 pounds of sugar in the plastic container and I'll use it as a weight. But like anything, you can,
yeah,
you
you
can
want to
use
have
it.
some sense of survival, some sense of whatever, and some sense
Yeah.
of two of the like with this next verse, one of the things that we can apply in that direction to those who wouldn't believe it in a literal sense is that we're talking about something, you know, your own sense. Like for example, guilt is a whole lot different than shame. Shame is you failed somebody else's standard. Guilt is you failed ones that you took on your own. So
Mhm.
it's um again, it's about being what you should be. The true will, as the Thelemites would say it, but again, the people Order Nine Angles influenced groups. A Satanic Front doesn't include really its labyrinth. It doesn't include the structure of the various fault the various what are called dark gods and that sort of stuff. Um, and what was the other thing I was thinking? Uh, whether Falxifer or one part of the list or whatever, it doesn't really include that. But people, you can say it's influence. They do admit there's an influence, but um,
Mhm.
what point was I making? And 765, when they forgot to remember the warning, and we saved those who prohibited the evil, but inflicted on the wicked a dreadful punishment, or requital for their disobedience. Oh, the true will. Yeah. So Crowley isn't a prophet. Crowley isn't a prophet to everybody. If you're not Thelemic, he's not a prophet to you. That's fine. Whether one's influenced by his material or not, I do like it better than the Golden Dawn stuff. I will say
Mhm.
that. Um,
Mhm.
and the true will, because that's what I'm saying, because people are going to think of Crowley. And it's like, no, I'm not saying that Crowley is my personal. Now, I do believe he had experiences, and that was one of the things I was hinting at with this mention
Mhm.
of messenger prophets and exemplar prophets is this idea of of beings, right? That
Mhm.
they are upon, you know, and oh, I need to get out my. But anyways, you have your own experience, and that guides you towards some of the rituals
Mhm.
and other actions that you're doing, like this order that I don't know if I'm going to be able to interview the guy, but he branched off another group that I was invited to take membership with and all that stuff, but the I didn't because even without the implications that there was infiltration and stuff going on, that wasn't the point for me. But anyways, this um okay, the 22. Yeah, if you remind me what I was saying, that 2228. Um, but you have to. Oh, wait. His main point was you get to the point where you are personally being your actions, your guidance. Uh, you're personally upon that. It's sort of like there's a Quranic verse. What is it? Okay, yeah, Surah 21:27. Basically, the people who don't believe or act until they're like that. But there's a satanic version like that. Is there they don't believe or act until they're personally directed upon their spiritual path in explicit terms in that way. And a person just gets in that mode. So whichever
Mhm.
spiritual side you take, that is available. It's harder with Christianity because there's just this idea of what a good Christian might be, and but then again, you're in people are in a mode. But
Mhm.
28 of 20, Surah 22, in order to reach the place of an advantage for them and to pronounce the name of a causal name on the appointed days over the livestock it has given them for food, and then eat the meat and feed the needy and the poor, particularly when life is being taken, when journeys are being made involving one's spiritual life. That's a very essential thing.
Mhm.
And people's like, oh, animal sacrifice. It's like animal sacrifice. Are you kidding me? You think uh, 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 there's no indication of anything particularly cruel or anything else. And in fact, there's implications that there's less cruelty. But the point is that you're doing that. And the point is also particular things. Whether you're talking about blood or flesh and that all that stuff, there are particular places. Some of these details really matter when it comes to the rituals. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
48:16. Say to the desert Arabs, the Bedouin who stayed behind, you will be called against a formidable people. You will fight them till they surrender. If you obey, then I'll give you a good reward. But if you turn back, as you've done before, I'll punish you with a grievous affliction. So when the time comes that a person needs to be brave, they just need to step forward and do what they're supposed to do. Some
Mhm.
pride in your ancestry and stuff's not going to do anything for you. You got to
Right.
do
Yeah.
things.
It's,
Um,
it's on them, right?
84:4, and throws out whatever it contains and is empty. Oh, no, no, it's 85:4. Um, the accursed are the men of the trench. Remember how we talked about the pit of the fire before? So there's fire of both lives. Um, but then like there's also that Christian idea where they're like, who took on the curse. That's how they try to explain how they twist things out of their literal meaning into something else and say, oh, so no, they took on the curse and they did that for us. Well, I mean, but then again, for yourself, right? But
Mhm.
we close with people will continue the umuhu hawiya wa ma adraka mahia narun hamia, but we're just doing the first verse here. We'll have the abyss for abode, but also you say like a mother will be the abyss. Um, And that's one of the things too, if we're going to talk about Satanism, because Satanic Front, the definitely the male and female beings is, that's something being talked about.
Mhm. Right.
Um, and if you found the verse thing, if we still have that was the green verses, and we'll go over the black and the yellow probably, and we may have time for that. So if you find your listing of the board, you can be the one to chant that or read that out if you want. 37:2, and this then is the life of Jacob at 17 years of age. One of my poems that I wrote, I talked about 17, and I talked about 17 is a very important number in in Persian, Iranian,
Mhm.
or Hindu, um, Arab, Semitic, whichever terms you want for that band of people. 17 is a very important thing. So this is the line of Jacob at 17 years of age. Joseph attended the flocks with his brothers as a helper to the sons of his father's wife Bilhah and Zilpah, and Joseph brought bad reports of them to their father. Okay, so Joseph was like, some stuff's going on, you need to whatever. But notice how working with animals is one of the
Mhm.
things. Now, so if
Right.
somebody can train a dog, that can be very important to their spiritual development. And
Mhm.
dogs do need to be trained because you don't want to go to prison
Mhm.
over your dog doing something because it does happen. Um,
Right. Most
and
definitely.
32, thus they spread. Oh, Numbers 13. 32. Thus they spread the calumnies among the Israelites about the land they had scouted, saying, the country we have traversed and scouted was one that devours its settlers. All the people we saw in it are men of great size. Okay, so that gets into the Nephilim, but you were about to say something that I accidentally made.
No, I I've not wrote down the list of the verses, so I can't see the board.
Oh,
I've got
you don't have that listed
but
for you. Um,
yeah, I have most of it, but no, I didn't. I haven't listed
okay,
I haven't wrote down the verses yet. But
okay,
yeah,
because I
sorry
thought I
about that.
sent you sent you a picture, but
Yeah, you did, and I wrote down I've got most of it, like the wordings, but
and some people all they're going to do is put a
yeah,
symbol, read off the thing, and chant one of
yeah,
the things until they feel something. And it's like it's fine
yeah,
whatever amount of these rituals that I post that people do, or if they just look at what I'm doing and try to identify or try to work it like
I
backdrop or
I
whatever.
usually
Then that's what
I
it's for.
usually do. I usually do write the verses down, and I don't know what's happened here.
Um,
Okay.
well,
Sorry.
all I'm saying is for the audience sake that it's like it's not
Right,
like I'm requiring any of this for people, but they can do
right.
what they want. But by that I don't mean that just record and put me in some weird context and post. No, don't do that. But the
Gotcha.
I've seen some stuff before. It's 1436. As for the men, well, the people who Moses sent to scout the land, and it's important to go on scouting missions, and the people who don't want to get caught either for safety or other reasons, yeah, that's important. Those who came back and caused the whole community to mutter against him by spreading the calumnies of the land. And the next verse, 37, those who spread the calumnies in the land died of the plague by the will of the Lord. Well, see, Lord is a mistranslation. We have a formula here. The
Mhm.
increasing of existence is one way to translate it. Um, and what, but we saw previously, so we have a person who spreads the true tales to realign things, and a person who, and then we have different calumnies, and we have stuff going on with the fallen giants. Now, the problem wasn't that they were giants, I don't think. The problem was that um, they had that going on with them. Um, and Psalm 31:13. I think this is one of the ones where I did not get the order in which it occurs in Tonic, our Bible. I was thinking, and then I added to my list as I went on, which is fine. Um, so 31:13. I am put out of mind like the dead. I am like an object given up for lost. And I did mention in the chant, abandon. So it can seem like that. It seems like you're a person will be out of their mind and all that stuff, but in a way, maybe they're not because of that. Um,
Mhm. Right.
but there is that state, and then again, you want to be in the point where you can be shaken out and then draw yourself back in. The same,
Right.
there's always people trying to get people to convert through their cults and all this stuff. So, 18, he who conceals hatred has lying lips, while he who speaks for slander is a dullard. There's also things about the modes. So people are going to do certain things. It does stuff to them otherwise. And that if they're
Mhm.
going to do that, they need to prepare for that. Um, whether or not one's promoting that sort of stuff mentioned right there, the idea is that, oh, and I guess we're running out of time. We may continue with
Thank
another session after a break. 25:10, lest he who hears it reproach you and your bad repute never end. Now, whether you're okay with it or not, sometimes a person does have to um, go back and get um, the stuff. Some stuff's just not to blab. Just like one of the
right,
things, again, that
right.
order that I was talking, that satanic order that I was talking about, this guy, I've been watching some of his channel. Um, he does make the point. It's like I think I heard him. Remember, I told you I heard him on that division. We don't need to narrow it down any
Mhm.
further, but that division chat that was posted, somebody had recorded something. I don't know whether it was whatever, but somebody posted it online, and I think this was the guy, and he was like, "No, dude, don't admit to crime on on the internet on an internet audio conversation of all things." Um, and so so yeah, and even if it's not that sort of thing, it's not everything is for everybody to be told about it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Ezekiel 36:3, which is a very Ezekiel, Daniel, and the Book of Revelations have a lot more value in magic than people realize when you separate magic from the typical church use, right? Therefore, prophesy and say, "Thus saith uh, the leader of the community, the increaser, the establishing established, just because they eagerly lusted to see you become a possession of other nations about them, so that you have become the butts of gossip in every language and of the jibes of every people." There are people that do that to people. That their whole point is that they want to, you know, have the joke at someone else's expense. And people's like, "Oh, it's a
Mhm.
prank, it's a prank." It's like, no, you threw a
Mhm.
chair off a thing,
Mhm.
and you
Point,
scared
point.
somebody, not you missed somebody, so you
Mhm.
spared their life, but they were scared, and that they realized, so
That, that just nonsense.
yeah,
Um, can we can
you
we
don't want to be
talk a bit
stupid.
about that? Right. Yeah, definitely don't be stupid. Could you elaborate a little bit on prophecy? Like, uh,
Well,
mhm.
prophecy. One of the things about prophecy is that people don't. Um, okay, let's do one last verse, and then and
Okay.
then we can close, and we can set the last section for the next time
Yeah.
and talk about that prophecy, as in Semitic languages, for example. You have nub, so it's a news. It's the person who brings out the news. It's the person who awakens the inner fruit. So the prophet is, in that sense, it's not predicting the future, although that can be part of it. Now, this can be for any path, right? And there's also other words like the visionary, chaza. You have I don't know what the Arabic equivalent of that, but you have different words referring to revelation and inspiration and all that sort of stuff. But
Mhm.
it's not just some new agey. You have the experience about it. We want real world actions. We want
Mhm.
mental work going on.
Mhm.
Jeremiah 20 10. I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to make sure at least we got a section. But the increasing of existence is with me like a mighty. Oh, that's the wrong one. Oh, I heard the whispers of the crowd. Oh, that's an interesting beginning word. Key. This is some of the stuff that comes to me beyond the translations because I know some of the language. Key also means burning. So the burning of the witnessing from forth rather than just I heard the whispers of the crowd. And then we do have the words which the crowd had brought forth, the terror all around. Inform, let us inform against him. All my friends, they're waiting for me to stumble. Perhaps he can trap. We can prevail against him and take our vengeance on him. Now, I've talked about people not having real friends, and that's what I mean. That's the
Mhm.
lack of real friends that I've talked about people. And
Yeah.
you could say something real quick while I'm
Yeah.
these things over.
Yeah. Yeah. True friends, real friends. The company one keeps. Very important. Um, many people are just not good for a person.
And
Most people are.
well, sometimes it sort of is, but it doesn't quite seem like that way. Like I think before like it's like, dude. dude, the people being oppressed and all that, it's like at least there's not spiritual motivation behind there. It's like no, that's the whole point. It's like however their rights are coming about. That's you know, um, and
See more and more people like are saying, I know it's like in comments, they're like, I have no friends, and
but
they
it's
prefer
it's it's
being
better than the
by
other. It's like
themselves.
I've mentioned people they don't have real they don't
Absolutely.
have any other real
Absolutely.
friends, and that's the whole
Mhm.
problem. And
I think
but
it
one of the
depends.
things I
Yeah.
find really
Mhm.
interesting, um, that that occurs in the some of these texts is the talk about the fire. The Christians, you can't in English. There's different angels. There's Satan's angels are the fire beings. That's what I mean by the fire beings. They're the
Mhm.
elementals. They're the planetary entities. They're the god. They're the spirits that are called gods and goddesses. They're there's more to
Mhm.
more to it than just but that's the thing about the fire and the words for magic, like in Arabic, your word for evil magic is the word that's usually translated as magic is seher. I mean, and that is involving the heat, involving things. It's so we have these particular words, and that's what I mean. I talk about not just a deity, a formula, and that's why if you understand some of the formula, then you can play around with the translation a bit and being honest, maybe people don't get it because it's like, why are you changing this part of this? And it's like because I'm attaching to this meaning of it. Um, I'm bringing it to, and I definitely don't want to think that like some desert only Abraham sort of uh various paid priesthood sort of thing. That's not the direction I'm looking at here. Um, and so the And oh, maybe I should change the graphic. If you don't have this, I will change the graphic a little bit to one of the other graphics that relate to this. Um, we saw the sigil, so we don't need to bring up the rock every time. I will include another rock that I've previously used in the ceremony, though. Um, you know what I mean. I have my okay, I don't know where the graphic is. Um,
You have your stone on there now with your sigil.
there there
Did
there
I
there
send
was
you?
there was
Did
a
I send
graphic there was
you
a
a copy of
graphic
one?
there was a graphic with the wand and all that stuff, and but we talked
Oh
about
yeah,
that last time, so
yeah.
it's not as necessary.
I can't remember if I showed you my or
But
sent you my picture or not.
so the thing that relates specifically to Satanic Front um is that I started from our very core. I mean, the whole thing is directed towards that current or attempted to translate through it. But you know what I
Mm,
mean? It's specifically Drums of Tophet 1. I
mm.
tried working with this. From our very cores, we dedicate each wild abandon. Here we join the secret community. We are functionaries of true divinity. In ways ancient and modern, we are incarnations of the assembly, larval as well as of darkness and negativity. What will be, what will we be unsheathing? It's coming forth from the mouth of every sage. All hail the God of this world and age. Of this we are sure